Greetings, everybody. This week we're talking about types of occasions and how you adapt to different audiences on those different types of occasions. And I want to begin by talking about a central concept. This concept sounds weird. It's called topoi, T-O-P-O-I, topoi. And it comes from Aristotle's book, The Rhetoric, which was written in the 4th century BCE, just after the deaths of Plato and Socrates. What Aristotle said, and this is an extension of something we touched on briefly last week, is that in general, in a public speaking, we can also adapt this to writing. In a rhetorical environment, there are three types of occasions that you might anticipate. There is a forensic occasion or a judicial occasion. There is an epideictic occasion, which is an ancient Greek word to say ceremonial or communal. And there is a deliberative occasion when a community gets together to figure out A, if there's a problem, and B, if they should do something about it. It's a problem solution kind of a framework. What topoi means are lines of argument that are available to rhetors, or people using rhetoric, lines of argument that are available to rhetors that are specific to the topic and specific to the occasion. Let me give you a few examples. Let's say you got in an argument with a roommate or a family member or a cousin or something about which city was better to visit on vacation, Charleston or Savannah. And you wanted to defend that Charleston was a better city to visit if you had a weekend or a week. What are the arguments that are available to you to be convincing in that environment? What are the kinds of things, the kinds of subtopics that you could really emphasize to show a comparative advantage of visiting Charleston over visiting Savannah? Let's take a different example. Let's say you're appealing a grade. You've gotten a grade on a hypothetical assignment that you don't think you deserved. And you want to approach the professor to appeal for a higher grade or at least appeal for a second viewing of the paper that you had just written. What are the kinds of arguments that you can make to be persuasive in that moment? You could appeal the justness of the grade and say the grade is just undeserved given the circumstances or the work you put into it. You could accuse the professor of bias. You could lampoon or criticize the assignment itself. Or you could heighten circumstances around your production of the assignment that perhaps put an undue burden on the assignment itself and said, basically, you didn't do your best work, but you should be reconsidered in light of those circumstances. There might be some other arguments you can make, but that's more or less it. You can take other examples, right? You want to make a political argument in favor of gun control or for one candidate or against another candidate. Let's say you're giving a wedding toast or a speech because somebody retired after a very long and distinguished career. All of these things are occasions, and the occasion kind of structures the kinds of arguments that you can make. Aristotle said that different kinds of occasions impose rhetorical burdens and enable different kinds of rhetorical arguments that can be made, which is to say that for us, in a skills-based class where we're all trying to become better users of rhetoric, better writers and better speakers, one of the things that topoi is really interesting for us to consider is how, during the research process, when you're about to write something down or you're about to give a public speech, when you're starting to do that process, what you should really do is think about the topoi of the occasion and the topoi of the subject. What are the lines of argument that are available to you given this topic, given your angle on the topic, and given the venue in which you're going to introduce this kind of rhetorical act? Make a big long list of the available arguments, all of the topoi that you could use in support of your case to be convincing in this case, and then winnow down which ones are going to be the most effective in this time, in this space, before this group of people.